Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm just here to bring you my latest. I've got 2 kits and I've also got 2 tag bags. And also, just before I get started, I want to say a huge thank you to Laura, who sent me yet again some gorgeous, generous gifts. So thank you so much, Laura. She sent me this lovely fabric. Love these shades of this kind of beautiful kind of yellowy colour and this absolutely gorgeous shade of green. So thank you so much, and it's all bound with this lovely lace, so I shall enjoy using that. Love this fabric, just yeah, will look great on a cover, so thank you very much. And she also enclosed these other lovely fabrics. Love this one, and there's loads of these gorgeous kind of upholstery kind of fabrics, which I just love them all. And so yeah, really pleased with all of these. So thank you so much, Laura. Really appreciate it. So kind of you. Thank you very much. And she also enclosed, which was just so funny, because I just commented on Jessica Rapp's video on Saturday. I watched a video and she had a package from Laura where they had done a swap. And Laura had enclosed a coaster that her husband had made for her, which was kind of a photograph, taken a photograph of her art tiles that she had created, and then had the photograph kind of made into a coaster. And I just literally that morning commented and said, oh, what a clever idea. I just loved the coaster. Just really cool idea. And then my happy mail actually arrived on Saturday, and I have saved it to open obviously until kind of when I was going to be doing this video. But in that actual happy mail, she had also enclosed a coaster for me. So really love it. Thank you very much, Laura, and what a clever idea. It's just brilliant, and I will take this to work for my cups of tea there. So thank you very much. That's really nice of you. So thank you very much. So going on to my kind of items that I have today, I shall move the kits out of the way. So I've got 2 tag bags, so it doesn't really matter which one we start with, so I'll just pop one to one side. So this one I have got, basically I have been always doing the tag bags out of this buff colour suspension file folders, which I've made the actual tag bags from. Well, I'm beginning to run out of the suspension file, you know, buff coloured file folders, but I did manage to get some black card, so I'm, you know, just playing around, kind of experimenting with that. So this one, I've obviously put some sheet music on there, and this is a vintage photograph, which I actually bought from a car boot sale several months ago, and it was quite a large photo. I can't remember whether I've actually shown it in any of my haul videos or not, but this is just a photocopy, and I've kind of torn it down so it just fits on here, and I've just popped a butterfly on, a little bit of ruffle, and I've just attached a little kind of faux diamante charm, and that's with a bulb pin and a bit of faux diamante across the bottom. And then this is attached with some black organza ribbon at the top there. So the concept is the same for the tag bag. It's the same kind of shaped bag, and everything is just obviously in black instead of the buff colour. So inside the tag bag, I've got obviously the usual, in that I've got 10, you know, an assortment of 10 completely different tags, and they're different sizes and, you know, different colours and what have you. So the first one I've got here, it's a tiny tag. It's got a little bulb pin, a little flower, and then obviously covered with scrapbook paper, and all of the tags are just on plain coloured card, so I won't necessarily kind of talk about the backs because they're all just plain. But I have actually got on this one layered it up with a bit of the digital printable from my digital kit that I released last week. So that was from my lady's garden, and I just thought went nicely and obviously coordinated with the flower. So that's that one. Then here I have got a larger tag. It's got some lace trim at the top. I've got a kind of faux ticket here, and just a flower. I've got a couple of vintage postage stamps here and a couple of stamped items, and then I've stamped some details in the corners and popped some doily on there, and a little kind of journaling spot. So that's that one. Oh, and a little flower there as well. Then here I've got another tag made again from, you know, my Ladies Garden digital kit. So I've just literally kind of popped that onto the card, and then I've fussy cut this lady out from another piece from the kit, and then popped on a stamp there and a little Martha Stewart butterfly, and then a journaling spot there. And then I've just distress inked around the whole thing, and then popped a couple of different kind of ribbony trims at the top. So that's that. Then the next tag here is this, the printable with these butterflies, and I've popped it onto some greaseproof paper and then onto some coffee dyed paper, and I've stitched around it on the sewing machine, and it's got a little coffee dyed fabric tab. Then this one here, this is just some scrapbook paper. It's got some book page, and then it's got this image of these ducks from a vintage children's book, a ladybird book, and a little flower there, and a Martha Stewart butterfly, and it's, you know, held with twine. Then this one here, I've just got, again, some scrapbook paper, a little bit of, this was actually some kind of book page, a fabric stamped, or a stamped image onto fabric, sorry, of this bird, a little tiny bit of lace, and that's just been glued on there, a little bit of diamante and a flower, and then I've just popped a bit of stitching at the bottom just for kind of detail, and then it's just got some little trim at the top. Then this one here, this is some book page, and it's been stitched around on the sewing machine, and then you've got a what do you call these, cigarette card image here, and then you've got a Martha Stewart butterfly, a couple of vintage stamps here, and then a bird cut from a vintage book, and then a stamped image there. So, and again, that's all been distress inked. Then this one is some scrapbook paper and some book page, and then I fussy cut round some flowers from a book, vintage book, and I've got here a stamped image saying together. There's some doily, and this is on some vintage net curtain fabric, and then it's got some soft net as the kind of tab there. So that's that one. And then here I've got quite a large tag that basically has been covered. It's fabric from some of those upholstery fabrics that I've talked about recently that I managed to pick up from Laura Ashley here in the UK. And then I've just popped on some stamped images of these clocks, and then a stamped image here, and I've layered that up onto this kind of soft net. The camera does have this habit of flicking off, which is very annoying. And then I've just got some coordinating lace trim there as the tab. And then the final tag here, this is basically some scrapbook paper that I have distressed and coffee dyed, stuck it onto the card, and this is a piece of vintage ephemera. I think it was a kind of letter. It's just a copy of it, and I've obviously distress inked it. This was a vintage photograph, which again, it's a copy, and I've just distress inked that. This is a vintage postage stamp, and this is a stamped image of some postage marks. And then I've got a bit of lace trim and a little flower, and then some trims at the edge. So that's that tag. So that's your 10 tags for this one, which is tag bag number 1. Then tag bag number 2 is obviously the buff coloured tag bag. It's just got some stamped images on the front and a fabric ruffle and a little flower. And as you can see, I've actually got here part of the kind of suspension file logo. So just point that out just in case anyone wondered what that was. And then going inside, again, you've got an assortment of 10 different tags. So the first one is a kind of longish thin tag, and then it's got various elements layered up. It's got some vintage sheet music, some lace trim, little pearls, and treasured there on a barcode. The next one is a piece of book page, which I've layered up again with some fabric, a bird image from a vintage bird book. You've got some lace there from the neck curtains, a couple of stamped images of the clock faces, and some seam binding stuff at as the tab at the corner, and that's been stitched around. Then here, I thought this was quite a nice, fun one to do. Just kind of trying to kind of use up some of my stash recently. So this was a stamped image that I'd done some time ago of this gorgeous fairy, and I had coloured her in at the time and kind of glittered her. So basically I've just popped her onto the, obviously, scrapbook paper and the doily piece. Then I've used some words here and a little flower with a pearl centre. Put some lace trim, which I've dyed with the dilution sprays, across the top, and then some more of that seam binding there. And I've just distress inked it all to kind of make it look vintage, but not too dark, if you see what I mean. So I thought that was kind of fun. And actually, if you didn't want to use that in a journal or anything, I thought it would be really nice either on a gift card or, you know, on a, not a gift card, a birthday card, a greetings card, or as a gift tag, you know, a tag on a gift, I thought would be quite nice. Then here you've got a large tag with, again, that principle of the butterflies, a little journaling spot that's been layered on some book page, and it's got some fabric here and a fabric tab, and then you've got just some stamped images in the corners. I've just rounded the corners off, and that's just here on this card. Here I've got two small tags. This one here has got some book page, it's got a little journaling spot, and this decoupage napkin image of these little ducks. And then I just cut out a little stamped image there of some swirls. It's got a little flower and a Martha Stewart butterfly there, and then some lace as the tab. Then this one here, this is just some scrapbook paper. It's got some book page, and then these couple of items are from a book. I think this was from the spine of a book, and I can't remember where this one came from, but they're just some little vintage pieces. And then here I've just got some little flowers that I've fussy cut out from some scrapbook paper, stuck it all on and distress inked it. This is a little flower which has been coffee dyed, and then it's just got some trims at the top. Sometimes quite like having the smaller tags, they're quite useful, I find. And this one is some scrapbook paper, some book page, some flowers which have been fussy cut out from a vintage book, and then the definition of the word cherish there, which has just been layered up on some fabric. And then you've just got some soft material at the side as the tab, and it's obviously been stitched around on the sewing machine. Then I've got a tiny tag here, which a bit similar to the one in the last one. So it's basically some scrapbook paper, a piece torn out from my digital kit, the My Lady's Garden digital kit, and I've just layered that up, fussy cut a little lady out of the kit also, and then distress inked the whole lot, and then just popped on a little glittery butterfly with a bulb pin. Then this tag here, whoops, the ribbon has just come out. This one also taken from My Lady's Garden digital kit. So it's basically some of the printout of a piece from the kit, which actually, this one I think was one of the pieces that I didn't end up using. I have talked about this in a different video, but I'm not sure the order that I'll be uploading these, so I may have talked about it or I may not. But basically, obviously, while I was making the kit, I'd printed it numerous times to make sure that I was happy with it. So I'm trying to obviously use up the bits that I printed that didn't make it to the final kit or in the final journal, because I don't want to obviously just bin them or waste them. So this one I've obviously cut out and popped it onto some card, and then just popped on this stamped definition of the word wonderful, and then this die cut flower image from the Casercraft dies, and I just think that makes a really beautiful tag. And this green ribbon obviously just coordinates beautifully with all the leaves, so rather like that. It's all been distress inked, so that's that one. And then here finally, the final tag in this tag bag too is scrapbook paper, and then various layered up images. So you've got some vintage sheet music, and then you've got various stamped images, which I just thought worked all really well together. And it's all just been very distressed around the edges and things, and you've just got some stamped images there. And then it's just got some lace there as the tab. So that's your 10 tags there for tag bag number 2. Pop those back in. They do all fit in here, but it is quite a tight squeeze because this tag is rather large, but they did certainly go in before I did the video, so they should go in now. So there we go. That's those. So I move that one out of the way. Now, then I've got also in my Etsy shop 2 kits. So I will do this one first, I think. So the first kit, it's basically contained in a fabric bag. So I don't think I've done any kits in a fabric bag before. But I have used this fabric before. Basically, I apologise, the camera flicked off again. Yes, this was some fabric from a skirt of my own. So I just literally stitched around it, and, you know, I've just, what's that word? Used my pinking shears across the top to form a little kind of sack. Now, I've said before, I'm certainly not a seamstress, so I mean, this is not a professionally made bag or anything like that. It was just something cute to contain the items in. And then basically there's a fabric ruffle, which I have just stapled on to the bag. So obviously that can just be taken off to be used in your projects. Then I've also included a little fabric flower, which I've kind of made there. Various bits layered up, and it's just backed onto. I really don't know what's going on with my camera, but very frustrating because this must be the fourth installment now. Attached with a bulb pin here, so that's that. Then you've got a little bag, obviously, or a little container of tiny items. So this little bag I've just created literally using the bottom of a bag. So the back is kind of plain as the bag was, and then basically I have just formed a little bag, and on the front, layered up, this was actually a vintage image from a book from about 1980, I think. And then I've just popped some flowers which I fussy cut out from some scrapbook paper, which I thought went really nicely with obviously these lilac flowers here, the lavender in the picture. And then I've just put some lilac lace across the top and a flower there, and obviously this butterfly. So I mean, hopefully you could use, you know, both this and this little fabric bag in your projects. And the items contained within that little pouch, you've got a large chipboard tile piece, which has just been covered with scrapbook paper and stamped, and then you've got a little flower there. Then you've got 2 little fabric items. These are just stamped images onto fabric and then stitched around onto hessian. And what I've also done is kind of Mod Podged around the edge to kind of stop the hessian fraying so much. Now this one I have actually distress inked, and this one I haven't. But they do distress ink okay, and also they do tea stain rather well, or coffee stain. So, you know, if you wanted to kind of do that, you could just get some coffee stain, you know, you could just dip that into kind of a, you know, bowl of coffee solution, or obviously paint it on with a paintbrush or something, but they do coffee stain really well. Then here I've also got some sheet music, which I've Mod Podged and distress inked very lightly to form a little butterfly. Here I've got just 2 Martha Stewart butterflies. I mean, I've just tried to include things that I quite like using when I'm making journals and items. And then here I've just got, I'm not quite sure what you would call this, but a little piece anyway that you would kind of attach to your pages, maybe with a brad, or you could maybe tie a little tiny piece of thin ribbon or twine or something into the holes and just kind of glue it on, you know, to your pages. So that's that. So all of those are contained in the small kind of sack, and that's just held together with the little peg. And then inside the actual large fabric sack, the first item is this particular one, which I have used one of the dogs from the fabric from my skirt, because I really love this fabric. And what I've done, I've layered it up onto some sewing pattern paper, so you've got that nice rustle, and then also onto this kind of linen-y, muslin-y type fabric. and stitched around it a couple of times on the sewing machine. And then down here I just popped some white lace trim down the edge because I thought that made a nice contrast. And then here a bit of lace trim at the bottom. And I thought this would work fabulously as a cover for a journal. So I haven't really got anything in particular to be able to show you, although I'm now just kind of reaching behind me and grabbing something that I can kind of demonstrate. Now obviously it's not meant for this, and I'm not saying it's going to look very good on here, but I just grabbed this book. So I mean, if this book were obviously covered with either paper or fabric, this item I just thought could be literally, I mean, it could even be hot glued. Oh, whoops, sorry, I just knocked the tripod. Could even be hot glued on, or obviously wet glue or something, or I noticed lots of people use the Fabri-Tac. So it could be kind of stuck on like that onto the cover of a journal, which would then look, you know, pretty nice, I think. So, I mean, obviously depending on what paper you had. I mean, unfortunately, I haven't really got anything kind of coordinating at the moment, but you know, it would look really quite nice, I think, kind of as a cover on a journal. So that's what I kind of, you know, thought that would be good for. So that's that item. And then I have done a couple of clusters. Now these were inspired by the clusters that Laura sent me. So I mean, obviously they are not held with one staple like the Jessica wrap ones or anything. These have been glued down like Laura's were. But you know, I really like how they turned out. This is some vintage book page, vintage stamps, a stamped image and some sheet music there, and a little flower, and this is some vintage sheet music there at the back. And then here I've got some vintage book page, vintage sheet music, and these are the Tim Holtz flowers, little flower there and a stamped tag there. So that's just a couple of clusters, which again, I mean, they just look good kind of on a page or, you know, on a tag, you know, however really. So really like those. Then I've got a couple of pieces here, which basically I have layered up several sheets of book page. These are vintage book pages. And then I've stitched them around on the sewing machine. And then I've layered up various images. So this one's got some decoupage napkin. It's got some stamped images and a little flower. And then on the side, it's just got some very soft net ruffle in this gorgeous kind of mustardy colour, which obviously just goes really nicely, obviously, with the colour of this fabric. So I really liked that. And obviously I would just kind of use that as a kind of pocket on a page, just gluing it around three edges and kind of use it like that. So that's that one. And then here, same kind of thing. I've just got the layered up pages there from a book. Some of the decoupage napkin there, which I've just literally, you know, stitched on and kind of glued it in the middle there. So I've kind of left it, you know, kind of loosish so that you could potentially kind of maybe tuck things in, or, you know, if you wanted to pop something behind, you could kind of tuck it and glue it in behind. It's got some doily there, and then some sewing pattern paper and some decoupage napkin again forming the butterfly, and again some of that gorgeous ruffle at the top. And I would use this again, kind of gluing it down and use it as a pocket like that. And then here I've just got one of those stamped image of a postcard, and I've just put the same decoupage napkin on the corner. And you know, I would use this probably as a kind of tuck spot on a page, just glue it down in two sides and, you know, pop it in. Or you could obviously back it onto some plain coloured card or paper to have it as a tag. So that's that one. And then the final two items, you've got this one, which is on this scrapbook paper, which is kind of shades of kind of browns and things. And then it's got some vintage flowers that I've just fussy cut out, some sheet music, stamped image, stamped ticket, and some sewing pattern paper there that I've just stapled roughly along the edge. And again, I would use this probably as a corner tuck or something, just gluing it down in two areas and then obviously using it like that as a tuck spot. And then the final item here, this is again from my digital kit, the My Lady's Garden kit. And again, this was just one of the pieces that I didn't end up using. So this one has printed out, I think it was on a laser printer, and it's come out very, very yellowy in colour, which I thought just went perfectly with this kind of mustardy colour here. So that's why I thought I would include this in the kit. And I just literally formed a little envelope like that. So inside the envelope, I just popped in another piece from My Lady's garden kit, and I've just stuck it onto literally a piece of scrapbook paper and stamped some corners. So I thought that was kind of nice. And obviously that just closes with, you know, just with this flap here. It's all been distress inked all around the edges, and then just some lace across the top, and then it's got a bulb pin with a little flower on it, like that. So I can't get that to kind of lay quite right, but it's got a bulb pin and a flower anyway. So that's kit number 1. So it's got quite a few goodies in that kit, and quite a bit that you could play with and kind of pop into your journals. So I shall move that out of the way. And then kit number 2, this is kind of a bit more like my kits usually are, in that it's in a paper package. So basically, if I show you the items included in this one, you've got a small paper kind of package which had been held on with this altered paper clip, which I've just used this kind of stretchy lace, which if I recall was from a piece of tablecloth, and it's got some vintage kind a ticket, sorry, stamped image of a ticket on there, and this flower which I just coloured with some Dilution sprays and some Diamantes there. And then this, I just literally formed a little kind of pouch and popped a little ticket on and a Martha Stewart butterfly, and inside of there I just literally included some Martha Stewart butterflies like that, a couple of glittered ones, so you could obviously layer these up as I have done with this one on the front. So that's quite nice. And then these, or this large bow, which, you know, I quite like using the bows in journals, so that's that. And and then here on the packaging itself, if I take the items out, I can kind of give you a better idea of what's on the packaging. So this particular package has been created just using some sheet music page. So basically I've just formed a kind of packet, basically, or a pocket, and basically just folded it up, and then I've just included another piece here. I've just fussy cut some flowers from a vintage book, and then layered up a stamped, you know, vintage stamp and a stamped image, a couple of flowers here, and some of this gorgeous, gorgeous coloured purple ribbon down the side. And that's got a pocket this side. And then on this one, again, fussy cut some flowers from some vintage book page, and then it's got a vintage stamp here, again some more flowers down the side, and then here you've just got a bit more of that beautiful ribbon, which is that velvet purple, and then I just made a little flower which has been layered up, and I just thought that just went so beautifully on this package. And the whole package has been kind of distress inked, and yeah, I really like it, very pretty. And then your larger items, so this one is all using kind of the same patterned paper as kind of the basis. So basically you've got this one here, which I would use as a kind of pocket. It's just got some lace trim down the side, and then it's got various elements layered up and some faux diamante, and I would just probably glue that down like that on a page and kind of have it as a little pocket like that. Obviously you could layer this onto some paper or some card and make a little tag, because this paper actually is quite flimsy from where I've coffee dyed it, so I just want to point out it is quite flimsy. It's actually kind of torn here, you know, so you may want to kind of alter that slightly, but still very usable, and you know, can still kind of use it. So that's that one. Then here you've got kind of a cluster but done into a corner cluster. So it's got items there, it's obviously got the matching paper and the lace trim, and I would just literally glue that into, you know, the corner of a page, just like that. Then you've got here a kind of bottom corner, and this one's actually a double corner, so you've got two bits layered up, and I would obviously glue this kind of onto the bottom of a page. And then you've got obviously this, which is a pocket, and then you would have the back as a pocket, you know, so kind of just glue it on the two sides. And that's just got some layered up elements and some lace trim. And then here I've also got another corner pocket, which again, and I folded this piece over and kind of glued it down, and then popped some lace trim on, stamped image and a little bow, and I would just glue it like that and pop it there, and it's a little pocket then. And then here I've got a little kind of opening booklet like that. It's got some string obviously, which has been glued on at the back, and then you've just got this stamped image here of a not a stamped image, sorry, a scrapbook paper image of a postcard, and then a little stamped image of a frame and a butterfly, and you've got obviously that same matching lace, and obviously that just ties together. So you could always put more pages inside here, you know, to make it a thicker booklet if you wanted, but you could obviously glue that in on a page, or you could just, you know, tuck it in kind of however you wanted. Then here I've just got a few images layered up in the form of a kind of banner, but it's a double-ended banner. So I would have this kind of running down the side of a page probably, and I would probably kind of run it flush with the stamped image of the postcard. So I would probably kind of glue it here, and probably just a little run of glue here as well, so it's really secured well. And then it would be a little tuck spot there, you know, to hold things onto your page. And then the final two items are two tags, which I've got here a large tag, and now I can't get the lace to sit flat. It's because it's been obviously kind of made for a little while now, and it's kind of been probably up against something with the lace pushed up, but if that bothers you, you could always kind of glue that down and then it would obviously stay. And this large tag's just got some layered up elements, and it's obviously plain on the back for journaling. And then you've got a small tag here with, again, a couple of layered up elements and a bit of lace, and a lace tab there and a bow. So, and plain on the back for journaling. So that's all of your items there in kit number 2. So again, you know, a fair few things to kind of have a bit of fun with and to kind of pop items into your journals. So I hope you liked all the goodies here, and just want to say thank you again to Laura for my bits and bobs. Really appreciate them, and thanks very much everyone for watching, and give it a thumbs up. So yeah, thanks very much and have a great day. Thanks then, bye.